This fight will be a very exciting fight as long as it lasts. And whenever the dust clear, I will win.
It'll be a good fight, but I consider myself the best heavyweight on the planet, and I'm out to prove it.
Goes by the wayside. Quiet here at floor level. Fans are wondering why they're not against the rope.
Even a draw. The decision is even a draw. Both champions retain their belt.
After the scandalous judge's verdict in the first fight between Evander and Lennox, the entire boxing world was buzzing and debating. It was obvious that there was no draw. Holyfield won 3, at most 4 rounds. All the commotion around this fight played into Don King's hands. It opened up the possibility of organizing a lucrative rematch, which was already stipulated in the contract. America, of course, rooted for their guy Evander, but the chances of Holyfield prevailing were exceedingly slim. Today, I invite you to remember the rematch for the title of undisputed heavyweight champion between Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield, which not only shocked the boxing world, but also shed a different light on Lennox Lewis. He was already 37 years old, and expecting him to repeat the miracle of the fight with Tyson 2 years prior seemed very adventurous and unrealistic.
This is going to be a war. Up to the head of Holyfield. Well, first he had a parachute.
At that time, Lennox was 34 years old and was the clear favorite for the upcoming fight. All this didn't generate much interest in the rematch. But there might not have been a second fight with Lennox if Holyfield hadn't wanted it himself. Think about it. Why would Holyfield want to fight again with a boxer who, unlike him, was at the peak of his powers, much larger, and who beat him in the first fight, regardless of what the judges said? Especially considering that the parties couldn't agree on money. Lewis wanted to split the purse 50-50. Although Holyfield was much more popular at that time and his earnings were orders of magnitude higher. No, Lewis wasn't afraid of Holyfield. It would be funny to think so after their first match. He just believed he deserved that money, just as much as Evander did. His logic is understandable. Holyfield was certainly a big star at that time, but Lewis looked much better in the first fight, and nobody was going to pay Lewis extra money, so negotiations reached an impasse. The situation was resolved by Evander Holyfield himself, who took an unprecedented step by agreeing to pay Lewis $5 million from his guaranteed $20 million contract, thus equalizing their earnings. For the second fight, Lennox wanted more money. Recalls Evander Holyfield, he received $10 million for the first fight but wanted more for the second. At that time, I was the only fighter in the world receiving a guaranteed purse of $20 million. Lewis said he would only fight me if he received the same amount. So, I personally paid Lennox $5 million for him to agree to the rematch. That's how much I wanted this fight. On November 13, 1999, a rematch for the title of undisputed heavyweight world champion by WBC, WBA, IBF, and IBO versions took place between Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield. After the first fight with Lewis, everyone thought Lennox would simply overpower him in the rematch, but Evander gave Lewis one of the toughest fights of his career, despite not being in his prime. It's hard to root for the loser, and Lewis, being a foreigner, supporting his side seemed even more foolish and wrong. That's how the majority of American boxing fans thought. For this reason, on November 13th, in Las Vegas, there wasn't as much hype. Yes, the arena was full, but the drive and atmosphere before their first meeting were nowhere close. Surprisingly, the second match turned out to be more intense and far more competitive than the first.
Is it right up in Lennox's chest
To one side, and he stays there.
projects more sheer energy than was the case in New York.
Now for Evander, all keep this fight at long reach.
Did it 12 rounds in Trinidad De La Hoya.
Good left jab, and that gives him confidence.
Touched him up inside with a little right uppercut. Off the round 1 results, and you see Holyfield listening to Don Turner's instruction.
The beginning of the fight belonged to Lewis. He controlled the distance with his left hand and worked inside against Evander.
In this round.
He has to make contact with the left hand.
Inside, lets Lewis come up with a nice uppercut to have twice the activity of the energy yet.
rematch performances in the past.
However, this time, the Briton felt his opponent's hits, and they rocked him, as seen in the third round.
That's one thing.
Don't let this loudest guy to get the
Much
distance.
has changed in the 8 years since
Forward, so I wouldn't have to remember anything.
In the middle of the round, Holyfield lands
Standing close. Lewis is bending down.
and Holyfield.
because Lewis was backing up. But later on in the round, he did land a cleaner punch.
Bending down.
Lewis. Don to round number 3. Oh, it's a man's sport, George. Let him go.
It was the first round that Holyfield made.
A taller man leaned forward and opportunity alone for the moment. Right hand over the top by Lewis.
15 or 17 jab.
Kind of slid past Evander's ear, though. And Holyfield grinning as Lewis lands a big one. And Halpern telling Holyfield to watch his head and busts Holyfield again.
Lewis better get his hands up. Holyfield is doing it.
Absolutely. He thinks he's got Holyfield going with his big right
Good thing
hand.
about this, I didn't mention, Lewis has his
Big difference in the position of the protective cuff.
he gets himself in the range of getting hit himself.
Well, despite the is as good as anybody in the sport. Larry?
Larry? About it a little bit.
And Lewis looking to the...
In the sixth, Holyfield, realizing that he had nothing to lose in this measured fight, began to intensify. He took hits, but Lennox also responded with successful combinations.
You can understand that. Right hands for the taking. He had no idea he would have to fight for this title. Knocked him out, and he forgot about it. And I'm telling you,
Long right hands to Holyfield.
chest, things he didn't do last time.
And then came the seventh round, which stood out more than all the other 23 rounds combined.
He didn't need to be in the fight.
Because he was busy. There's no question.
In the seventh round, Lennox started working harder. He pressed his fist on contact, and his straight right and two signature rights from below found their mark.
And jabbing and making this a fight. They're at
Big left hook by Holyfield.
They're head to head now. Head to
The Brit controlled the fight impeccably, stifling any attempts by his opponent to enter the mid-range. Whenever Holyfield broke through, Lewis grabbed and held him in a clinch until the referee separated them. However, this played a cruel trick on him. While in the clinch, Evander landed a short but incredibly powerful left to the side of Lewis's head.
Hard left hook by Holyfield. Lewis stunned again.
The Briton's legs wobbled. Holyfield rushed to finish him off, but kept getting tangled up in close quarters. Lewis regained his composure, but his reaction to the opponent's actions was not as sharp. He took another left from the American, and once again, his legs buckled.
But here comes Lewis now.
Lewis rallying again. Combinations. Hard right hand by Holyfield.
It was a serious shakeup. Towards the end of the round, the fighters exchanged blows at mid-range, which clearly favored Evander.
Round 7, the best round. These two fighters have fought against each other for shots. Right hand lands. Lewis obviously much more conscious of
to
wanting
the
to...
body by Holyfield again. Left hook upstairs now.
Another left hook, and Lewis backs up and ducks.
Totally leaning forward now. He is into trouble. But Lewis has that he's going to fight.
With those jabs to the chest.
Yes, he did.
And it looks from time to time.
And the bringing of that cuff down low.
So it's a much more even fight, but despite
Yes, he
everything...
just jumped.
On sheer determination, Holyfield won the following segment. However, from the ninth round onwards, Lewis once again held the advantage and steered the fight towards a logical decision by the judges.
Holyfield showed courage and heart
jab,
the 10th
good
round.
jab. Lewis jabs is a different fight. Evander's been in with a lot of giants, and he's never
Well,
backed
Evander
down.
Holyfield won't back down anybody.
Big uppercut.
Holyfield not throwing back, fires the
He's an
right.
excellent boxer. Knows what to do and when to do it. About Evander, when he protects himself here, so that's why he's able to get
But when he gets out here, he doesn't look weary, and that's where it
Size
counts.
of will. I bet you anything, there's at least
he should try to create as much of this as to the snuff, nothing.
left hook lands.
Well, he's going to need...
Evander Holyfield didn't.
This time, the score was in his favor, 117 to 111, 116 to 112, 115 to 113. Strangely enough, the second match turned out to be much more even than the first. Overall, it was far more eventful than the first encounter between these fighters. Lewis won and became the undisputed world heavyweight champion.
Lennox seeming to try to load one big shot. Now he goes back to the table.
Lewis has got to fight.
Table here, if anything, Holyfield takes it. Right hand lands in 5 more seconds of fighting. They fought a lot better fight this time.
I really admire Lennox. He was a boxer who always stuck to his style, regardless of whether it was boring or not. He always aimed for victory. People tell me, but he fought nothing like you did, but I often yielded to the crowd's preferences, always shifting towards the boxing style that appealed to the audience. According to experts, Holyfield managed to maintain his trademark recognizable style, refined skill, and aversion to brute force throughout his career. These 2 fights were where I enjoyed the action from start to finish. I felt so bad after the first bout with Lewis. I did everything I could, but I was sick, and Lennox didn't want to fight in the first match. He was cautious throughout the entire fight. That fight turned out to be dull, but the second one was good. I respected him after that fight because he really fought. I landed good hits on him and made him work hard. At one point, I staggered Lennox, and I thought it was over for him, but then he caught me with an uppercut that changed a lot, and I couldn't finish what I started. I still believe I won the second fight with Lewis. I landed more solid hits, I was more aggressive, but I tip my hat to Lennox for truly fighting in the second bout. It was a good fight from my side, even though the judge's decision wasn't in my favor. What gave Evander the strength to overcome all these difficulties? I believe every word of God. God says He has given us grace. It means that if we put effort into something, we will achieve it. There's one thing I never did, I never gave up. You won't always have good times, but don't despair. You just have to go through it. So, guys, if you liked the video, hit the like button, leave your comments, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to share it with a friend who's also interested in boxing history. See you next time. Take care. Good luck. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end.